Hello, good morning, everyone. We're just waiting a few more minutes for people to join. We'll be starting in a few. I can see people are joining, so let's just give others a few more minutes, then we can start. Let's give others 2 more minutes. At 10:05, we'll officially start. Mm-hmm. Right, so it's 10:05. Okay, now. Good morning, everyone. My name is Samuel Timchuma. I am a moderator today. Welcome to the first webinar of May 2025. Today we'll be taking you through compliances awareness and anti-money laundering and the data protection. I have my guest speaker here, Grace Ntambi. She'll be our guest speaker. Will be taking us through compliance awareness, anti-money laundering, and data protection. So without any further ado, also one more thing, if you have any question, please write it down at the chat. Sorry about that. If you have any question, please slide down at the chat. And without any further ado, Gracie, please, you could have the stage.
Thank you. Introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Grace Ntambi. I'm an advocate and a compliance manager in Wakandi, Tanzania Limited. I'm very honored to be with you this morning to talk about something that touches each one of us in our day-to-day working environment. We're talking about compliance. Since we are regulated and we are in the financial space, it's very important for us to comply with our regulators and all the guidelines that are provided so that we can be able to maintain our status as business and financial providers, and also to be able to make sure that everything is in line with the laws that we have. So today we'll be talking about compliance in terms of us as financial providers, what we are supposed to be doing, what is the role that we play, and how we can use full compliance to be able to enhance our operations in our financial institutions. So someone may ask, what is compliance? Basically, as a general term, as general verb, it's just to adhere to laws, regulations, and industry standards to ensure ethical and lawful operations. Now for us in Wakandi, Tanzania, we are regulated by the central bank, which is the Bank of Tanzania. And as such, we have the payment system provider license. And then we are regulated by the, we call it, it's a Tanzania Communication Authority, TCRA, which is we have the application services license, and we are regulated by, again, the cooperative space, which in Tanzania, the regulator is called TCDC, it is Tanzania Cooperative Development Commission, and among other regulators that we have. But since we'll be talking about the anti-money laundering today and data protection, it was essential for me to talk about TCRA, BOT, TCDC, and in this case, it's the Financial Intelligence Unit. They are also regulators, and it's among the people that we have to report to on a quarterly month basis. So compliance basically is just referring to adhering to the laws. We'll be looking into different laws that we have, especially in Tanzania, in the regulations and the industry standards that have to be ethical for us to run lawful operations. Now, why do we have to comply? Since we are in the financial sector, it helps us to protect ourselves against fraud and financial crimes, and to also protect our customers against the same fraud and financial crimes. We'll be on top of the matter, and it helps us to build trust with members and stakeholders. The members in our cooperatives and the stakeholders that we partner with, once they see we have measures in place on how we do the screening, on how we do the KYC, the EED, the CCD, then they know like these people on top of their business, and then that builds trust and somebody is willing enough to work with you. And then it ensures business continuity sustainability because you have the risk assessments, you have the reports, you actually know your risk appetite. Is it low? Is it medium? Is it high? Then you're able to know what is the best continuity for your business and how to sustain. And then most and foremost, being a legal person, this is where we talk legal penalties and reputational risks. So once we comply, then we are able to be on the safe side and avoid legal penalties. I'll be talking about how a legal person is, once you fail to have in place legal measures in Tanzania, you have to pay not less than 500 million. Once that is the sanction, that is the fine that you're liable to pay. So being compliant enough, you definitely save money and avoid legal penalties. So thank you for that. Let's get right into it. That is compliance at a general. Now, I was talking about some of the compliance obligations. As people who are in the financial sector, initially, the first point that I always tell internally when I talk to the key account managers and the sales people, when you're going out there, you first have to know your customer. It's not a requisite, and I'm glad our system CAMS has been able to incorporate it very well. And it's something that from the lower level up to the board level, that is something that we take very seriously to make sure that the KYC is in place before we can continue to do any business. And so how do we collect our KYC? We have to collect and verify customer identification. We normally take the national IDs and passports for, normally we take, in Tanzania, we take for the board members. And so we have the chairperson of the cooperative, or be it a microfinance, then we take the managing directors and the board members, we take their national IDs. And then we have the manager, the SACCO manager. We have to collect their national IDs and passport, and we have to do verification too of the same. And sometimes we have the accountant too, because these are people that will be dealing with the finance directly. You have them as the tellers or the day-to-day people who deal with the transactions. So those are the people that we collect the national ID and the passport. Now, as a PSP provider, we deal with the company, we deal with the organization, we deal with the SACCO, we deal with the cooperative. So that is why we don't take the end user KYC. So we give these trainings so that you can know how we do as the payment service provider. But the same, we advise our customers, that is the cooperatives and the microfinances, they should do the same with all the members that they register into their cooperatives or into the microfinances. They should also collect the KYC. And the same is reflected in CAMS, because we have to have their phone numbers for the OTP, we have to have their emails, just to make sure that this is an authentic person. And I'm pretty sure that the SACCOs, you as our customers, even go furthermore to be able to collect more KYC from the end users. So you could have the birth certificates, you could have, as I say, the identifications, national identifications, and the likes. And now once you have the KYC intact, then the onboarding proceeds. But for the part of compliance, what we do is to update the customer records regularly. Now, we know mostly in the SACCO sphere, every year there is an AGM and new board members are elected, new leaders are elected. So you can't have the KYC for last year when it's a different chairperson this year. So that is updated regularly to make sure that it's in line with what is really going on in the SACCO, in the microfinance. And another is to conduct enhanced due diligence for high-risk customers, like PEPs, politically exposed persons. Now, why do we say PEPs? Because PEPs have immunity. You have diplomats, you have politicians, most of them have immunity. So once dealing with such people, you need to place them, you have to do an enhanced due diligence to make sure that, and I'll be talking about it, in Tanzania, we have the Financial Intelligence Unit, and they give out the sanctions list every now and then, and the UN sanction list and the one from the FIU. So you get to know the people that you're dealing with, the partners that you're partnering with, or the customers that you're bringing in, make sure they're not on the sanction list. Because again, like we said, the legal penalties and the repercussions for you going into business with someone who may be involved in anti-money laundering or terrorism is quite heavy. So you do enhanced due diligence to make sure that the person that you're dealing with is not a PEP. And then the next part, that is on the part of just KYC, just you doing your due diligence of knowing who you're entering to business with. And then we have the anti-money laundering, which is now, this is the one that I'll be talking with. Your obligation as our, and now I'll be talking more of, it's in Tanzania, we're told everyone in the financial space, every financial provider should elect, it's called an MLRO, which is a money laundering reporting officer. So once you have that, there will be the ones that will be having this obligation or rather maybe some of them can have compliance officers, like the way Wakandi we have. Being a compliance manager directly makes me not directly, but it puts me in a position to be able to be a money laundering reporting officer, just someone who flags any suspicious transactions or any suspicious person as part of the enhanced due diligence. So you report suspicious transactions to the authorities in charge, which in Tanzania, like I said, it's a financial intelligence unit. It's normally a portal. You have your login. And once you do the enhanced due diligence and you find someone who is a high-risk customer, you've gone through the sanctions list, you've found this person there, or anything that indicates he could be tied to the person in the sanction list. It's not your job to investigate. It's not your job to be the one now who is collecting evidence and everything. You just have, as long as it's a suspicion that you have, and you share it. Like for me, I'd have to share with my the country manager. And if he thinks it's any reasonable man could say, yes, this is a suspicion, then you just raise it up. Then the authority in charge, which is the AFIU for Tanzania, they'll be the one to do the investigation and to find the evidence if actually what your suspicion is correct or not. But if you fail to report or to report such suspicious transaction or a person who is a high-risk customer, and it just so happens because like for us, CAMS is integrated with other MNOs in banks, and say that a compliance officer at the bank is able to raise that suspicion, then it will be a problem, both for our customer, because the customer didn't do the enhanced due diligence. It will be a problem for us as a payment system provider, because we also did not raise that suspicion until the third partner, which is the bank or MNO, who had to flag it. So that is why we have an obligation to report the suspicion transaction. If it does not amount to anything, it's well and good. You've done your part. But if it's something that you know it's suspicious, then it may lead to something, but you'll be exonerated from any legal penalties that may have to come with you not reporting it. Another thing is to monitor transactions for unusual activity and to train the staff on anti-money laundering policies and procedures. Now, most of us, we may think some things seem just very obvious. I usually tell the staff here, you expect them to know these things. But if you're not in the sphere, like some of us who are in the legal sphere or in the compliance sphere, something that seems very no more like it's common for someone to know may not be very common to the others. So this is why we have to regularly train the staff on AML policies and procedures, because generally it's a law that ignorance of the law is not a defense. So once someone is caught into such an instance of being involved in, even indirectly, in any money laundering event or in any money laundering crime, then you cannot say, I didn't know this is the law. I was supposed to report suspicious activities or transactions, or I didn't know I was supposed to do due diligence in KYC. It's never going to be a defense. So this is the importance why we have to train our staff so that they can know AML procedures and policies. And these are things that we have to have as financial providers. We have to have AML policies and procedures. Towards the end, I'll be sharing the format that is provided by the FIU on how we can, on the form of AML policies and the procedures and how to do AML risk assessments. And then the last as a compliance obligation is to do licenses and registrations. We have to have operating licenses, which are effective, and we have to have registration with relevant bodies and registration with tax bodies. Now, as I said, compliance is more of making sure that we follow the laws and all the directives of the regulators. And as mentioned before, in Wakandi, which I'm sure it's even for all the Wakandi companies, we have several licenses. We have the PSO, we have like I said, the application services with the communication regulatory authorities. So all these licenses, they come with directives on how to be able to maintain the licenses. So part of compliance obligation will be to do that. I'm sure the same applies to the our customers who are in the financial services provider, being entitled with the responsibility to handle people's finance data or finance itself. You have to be heavily regulated because that is money that you're taking, or that is data, financial data of people. So you have all these licenses and all these regulations to report to. Moving along, we'll be also talking about record keeping, maintaining transaction customer records for the recommended period as per the different regulators. In Tanzania, we have 10 years max cap, so we'll be able to hold on to information, the data, transactions, that we'll hold on to it for 10 years. And then from there, upon consent, then you can be able to destroy the data. But part of compliance obligation is to have the record keeping, because 7 years from now, someone can say there was a suspicious transaction, and then it's brought up, do you even have this transaction? You don't have. Now that is the advantages of having a CAMS system, our system, Wakandi system, because the information will be there. It's not as easy to lose the information as it is when you're using an Excel sheet, or if you're writing in a paper, it's very easy to lose the information. And then we have compliance reporting, as I had mentioned before, suspicious transaction reports, currency transaction reports, all the above, annual returns. You file financial and compliance reports with regulators. The same, that is what we do as Wakandi, but the same is required of our customers. So it's important that we remind ourselves on what we are supposed to do to comply with the regulators, so that you stay in business and we stay in business. And then the last but not least, we have training staff on compliance and its importance. This is the reason why today we're meeting with to remind ourselves why we should comply, why we should stay in business, because the penalties, you have suspension of your license, revocation of your license, and fines. Now you don't want all those legal implications. You'd rather comply to the directives and be able to stay in line and have your business sustainability and development. Okay, so as part of what I was talking about, the training itself is called anti-money laundering and data protection. Now Wakandi Tanzania has been licensed as of August last year as a data controller. We have that license, personal data controller. And so in the terms of service clearly state on data protection and cyber security. Now we safeguard member data and prevent unauthorized access. The terms of service clearly state that it's upon written consent if there is a need of third party to be brought, maybe for data analysis or either scenario, there has to be a written consent from the other party for that to be shared. And we implement secure system for transactions and communications in place to make sure that the data is well protected. You won't find financial information about a certain cooperative or microfinance that is within CAMS to a third party there without any authority. That will never happen, because we have a license that requires us, but even as for us to keep the trust, as I had said earlier on why we should comply, the trust of our business partners, we have to make sure that the data is protected and there is enough cyber security. You won't hear about hackings and information leakage, none of that. And another thing is we do audit reviews, periodic, to ensure compliance. We identify and address gaps proactively. This is what we do as Wakandi. We do it internally, and we urge our customers and partners to do the same, so that we can all be in the sustainability business and we can all be compliant. Now, these are done for every department to make sure that we are all in compliance. So we have the different policies that govern each department, each company. So the same can help all the managers, let's say, to be on top of business and to see that the operations are run smoothly in accordance with the policies that we have in our cooperatives or in our microfinances. Now, before I had talked about PEPs, like who are these politically exposed persons? Before I had mentioned you have individuals who are in prominent public positions or their close associates. They pose a higher risk for money laundering because, as I said, they have high immunity. These are like diplomats. It's like the whole process for them of declaring their risk is higher. So what do we do? How do we go about it? We identify the PEPs during onboarding through detailed KYC checks. Now, it's not enough for you to have a similar name to someone in power, but if somebody sends their national ID, their passport, and then you're able to say, this is suspicious, I need to do enhanced due diligence, then you ask for the birth certificate to be able to confirm. If you get the birth certificate and everything clears out, then the person is well cleared. But then you verify the source of funds before you start entering into business with this person, and you monitor transactions more frequently. You update the PEP records, you reassess the risks, flag unusual activities. So these are what you do when you just, like I said before, it may be just a suspicion. It may not amount to anything, but you did your due diligence of being diligent enough to be able to raise a suspicion either to yourself or with anybody who is superior to you. If you think your judgment may be clouded, then you can talk to anybody who is superior or anybody who can be able to advise you on the matter, and then you go through it together. And if a person is politically exposed, or you're suspicious that they're politically exposed, so this is how you do to make sure that you verify the source of funds very clearly and you monitor the transactions more frequently. Now, in Tanzania, I'll talk about it later because the law provides that any transaction that is higher than 10,000 USD, that is already suspicious. Whether it's from money laundering or not, that you have to report that to the FIU, and they'll be the one, like I said before, they'll be the ones to do the investigations and everything and clear it or flag it. But you have to flag it. Now, that is the minimum that is provided for Tanzania. And I think the same, because we are East African, we normally have the same laws and similar procedures. So the same is required for FIA. And other than that, the risks of non-compliance, as I had talked about before, we have legal penalties, we have fines, license revocation, or imprisonment. In Tanzania, fines go directly with imprisonment. All these three, it's not either or, it's more of and. So you have a fine, you have a license suspension, and then you're imprisoned. If it's a natural person, you have not less than 20 years and greater than 30 years. If it's a legal person, that is companies and cooperatives and microfinances like that, you have fines. And the person who is responsible is going to be the money laundering reporting officer. This is why if you're tasked with that, to be a compliance or to be a money laundering reporting officer, you need to be on top of your compliance obligations, because at the end of the day, you're the one individually and not the microfinance and not the cooperative that is going to be answerable. It's you as a reporting officer, because the regulator has placed its trust in you to be able to do your compliance obligation. So you'll be the one who is liable as a person, as an individual, for failure to comply with your obligations. Another one is reputational damage, which is loss of trust and membership. Once we hear that all these people they're into the predicate crime, they deal with money launderers, or your reputation is damaged, people lose trust and members panicking, and you lose all these clients. it's not a good thing. That is a risk of non-compliance. And then we have the operational impact. So as I said before, your license can be revoked or it can be suspended, and then that will just disrupt the business. Now, steps to compliance. The first step would be once you get the knowledge, like the training that we do now, the next step would be to develop and enforce clear policies. Now, you make policies that you're sure you'll be able to enforce. It doesn't have to be long and complicated. You just have, like the way I mentioned, the few points below on how to go about, like you have your KYC, you do your enhanced due diligence, you do your employee KYC, know your employee KYE. It doesn't have to be complicated at all. And then you conduct staff trainings on KYC, AML, and regulatory updates. And then you perform periodic audits to ensure compliance, see where the gaps are, and identify them, and know how to deal with them proactively. And then you maintain a culture of prompt and accurate reporting. Then that will help you to be on top of business, to be compliant enough, and that way you can have sustainability and be fully compliant according to the regulators' directives. Now, from what we've talked about, risks of non-compliance, we come to understand that compliance is essential, and it helps us for the growth and sustainability of our business. And Wakandi, as a payment system provider, we are supposed to give awareness to our clients, to give help to our clients. Like I said before, I'll be sharing, for those in the Tanzania space, I'll be sharing what the FIU requires, the forms, the risk assessments, how you can do it, how you can do them. We provide this to you so that you'll be able to be compliant enough, and so that you can be in business, like I said, and we can be in business, and we can all be compliant, so that we get good data from you, and you get good data from your customers, end users, that as we call them. So we are here to support the compliance journey, and compliance is a team effort. Like I said, you could be suspicious of something, but involve someone else who you can trust, because we also have a policy of whistleblowing, as I'll be talking about in a few minutes. So that is all about compliance. Now I will go into the nitty-gritties, and maybe Samora can just talk a bit from there as I prepare to bring up, to go into talking about the laws, what part says about money laundering. Thank you.
Right. So hope you have enjoyed that about the compliances. Let Grace share the different skin about anti-money laundering. If you have any question, please do chat. I've seen like they haven't any person asked anything. I'm sure someone might have something like burning in their head. You can just send a text on the chat and you'll be able to answer any question that you have.
So I was talking about exactly what money laundering is. We're going fast as the time is on our side. We have 10 minutes. So I'll be going very fast. Initially, I just want to give an overview of what the law says about money laundering. So we have money laundering, we have proliferation financing, and we have terrorist financing. So we'll be looking at those three and what are the effects of them, which is ML, TF, and PF, and what as payment system providers or as financial system providers or financial institutions, what we are what are our obligations, and what is the abuse of our powers, and what causes a crime, and what are the red flags and debate indicators, and then we'll just be so I'll go very fast because we don't have much time, just to make sure like we get the intricate picture of what really is money laundering. So you have a theft of, here was 2 billion that happened. That is a predicate offense. That is what we call a predicate offense. So the offense was stealing the money. Or we have corruption in public procurement, that is embezzlement. We had an issue of the Queen of Ivory who sold, who cut off the, who took ivory, that is the elephant tusks, and sold them. And or it could be through drugs. Now that is a predicate offense. But how does that lead to money laundering? So you have this money gotten from all these predicate offenses, and then we go to what happens to be the proceeds of crime. So whatever is gotten from this predicate offense is transferred into money, and this is what we call money laundering. The whole process of making illegal money to be clean money, as we say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the whole process. So how can that be done? It could be endorsed into businesses. You have maybe in casinos, or maybe it's taken to the bank. Okay. Mm-hmm. Or maybe someone just into industry. Someone invests into industry. So you get proceeds of crime. The money was gotten through predicate offense. It's now becoming legal, like it's clean money. Mm-hmm. And then it is used now. Maybe a person buys a house, I withdraw my money that I had put in the bank, or I acquire a building, a house, a car, or I start a business. But this money, this business, this car, this house is an predicate, is a proceed of a crime that was to begin with embezzlement, theft, yeah. So that is what money laundering is. When you say money laundering, that is what.
So you could say, let's say if a person owns a nightclub and it takes the money, since most beverages, nightclubs tend to have a lot of customers and a lot of money. So you take that money which have turned fishy, then you inject to the books of the nightclub. So
exactly. And this is what we call, this is why I had said before, we have to look into the source of funds. Where did these funds come from? Yeah. So that is what money laundering is about. It's the processing of criminal proceeds to disguise their illegal origin. So we have placement, we have layering, and then we have integration. That is what we saw before. Placement is how the money, like how you get the money from proceeds for how you get the money from a predicate offense, and then you do the layering, you inject it into a legal business, and then the integration, you take it to a bank, and then you buy a house. That is how we have the 3 stages of money laundering. So this offense in Tanzania is under the Anti-Money Laundering Act in Section 12 and Section 7 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act, which is for Zanzibar. In Zanzibar, we have the AML POCA and Proceeds of Crime Act, and in Tanzania, we have the Anti-Money Laundering Act. So it's similar, Section 12 and Section 7, which talks about engaging directly or indirectly in a transaction that was involved from the proceeds of a predicate offense, like I had showed before. Converting and transferring and transporting the property, which was gotten from the illicit origin, from the proceeds of a crime. Concealing, once and then you conceal or you disguise or you impede the establishment of the true nature of source of funds, that is a crime. Acquiring, possessing, using, or administering property you know was gotten from the proceeds of a crime, that is a crime. And participating even. So you find you're buying a house, you stand in as maybe just an agent, a real estate agent, or as a lawyer, I'm standing in, like I'm signing the sales of agreement, but the house was gotten from the predicate crime, then that's already an offense, just participating. So yeah, that is a money laundering. So all of you will be equally liable. Everyone will be equally liable. So the penalties of money laundering, this is what I wanted to show so that we know what we are dealing with. The bigger amount, the fine, as I said, then the minimum you have is 100 million up to 500 million and 3 times the market value of the property. So say you bought that house, or you were involved in buying a house that the money came from the predicate offense, came from maybe say embezzlement, or came from drug abuse, drug trafficking. So it will be 3 times the market value of the property. You will pay 3 times the amount of the market value of the property.
3 times?
Yeah. And that is end. So you have the fine of 100 million, as the court may decide, and then you have to pay 3 times the market value of the property that you acquired. Wow. Yeah, it's not worth it. Now that is for a natural person. And you have this is called the Economic and Organized Crimes Act. It imprisons you as a natural person. You have, like I said before, 20 years to 30 years. Then you have confiscation and forfeiture to government, all the properties that you bought that were gotten from the predicate offense. So that is both. And then you have for businesses, like I said, it can be it can be just the fines and the 3 times market value, or it could be both imprisonment and fines at the same time. That depends on what the court decides. And then you have a legal person, which is us now, as a company, as a cooperative, as a microfinance. You pay for 500 million, that is T shillings, up to 1 billion, that is the maximum that you can get. And again, 3 times the market value of the property that you acquired, you have to pay as fine. Yeah. So more of terrorist financing, we have examples of the bombings in the US. We have what had happened in Tanzania in Dar es Salaam in 2021. Terrorist financing is funding terrorists or terrorist activities. That is also a serious crime. It has no bail, by the way, in Tanzania. And you have raising funds, moving or transferring funds, and using the funds. So that is a crime. We'll go very fast with it. Now, what is financing? It's explained in. Now we have proliferation financing. This is financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, meaning providing financial or any other help to persons or jurisdictions that are under the UN embargo for producing weapons, mass destruction. This is why we need to do our KYC. Because if you do an enhanced due diligence and you know your customer, then you'll be able to know, like I said before, you check the sanctions list, the UN sanctions list, then you're able to know exactly who falls where. And this is why we have to closely monitor the PEPs, like I said, politically exposed persons, monitor the source of funds. That way, you'll be able to know where the source of funds are coming from, because as I said before, even cooperating in the slightest way is already a crime. So you're also part of money laundering. This is why we are compliant with the money laundering laws. Now in Tanzania, we have the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2006, and then we have the Proceeds of Crime, the POCA of 1991. In Zanzibar, we have as I said before, the AML POCA, and then we have the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Okay. The effects, as I said, we know them: inhibits business competition, repels genuine investors, economic failure that is general to the whole country. Now, this is what I wanted to talk about. What we are supposed to be doing, both as payment system providers or as reporting persons. We are supposed to be reporting suspicious transaction. This is recommendation is provided for in the recommendations given by the FIU. If you have as reasonable ground to suspect that funds are proceeds of a criminal activity or are related to a terrorist financing, you are required to report the suspicions. It is the regulator who will investigate. As long as you have a suspicion, you've checked it with another person, because it's a collective effort. You are all sure, like, this looks suspicious. You report it. They'll be the ones to investigate and to give out the outcomes. And we're also supposed to, as a legal person, we're supposed to be the ones on behalf of the customer to make sure that acceptance of deposit and other repayable funds from the public, money or value transfer services, issuing and managing means of payment. We're on top of this. We are supposed to be the ones to follow such activities, just so that we can be able to monitor and be able to see if there is any suspicion and flag it. Now, who is a reporting person? We have banks, we have financial institutions. This is provided for in Section 3 and Section 2. We have banks, we have cash dealers. The law also was amended to include legal people. We have advocates, we have legal persons, lawyers. They're also reporting people. So, as a financial institution, it means anybody who accepts of deposits and other repayable funds from the public, including private banking and other repayable funds, issuing and managing means of payments, trading foreign exchange or transfer securities. All of us in the financial sector, in short, we are supposed to have a reporting person who flags suspicious transactions. And then we have, it also explains the financial institution is manual value transfer of services without extending presence and issuing and managing means of payment. So this explains who a reporting person is, who is responsible to be flagging the suspicious transactions. We have cash dealers, people who carry business of dealing in gold, maybe selling or redeeming travels checks, money orders, collecting, holding, and delivering or transmitting money. These are also reporting persons. So everyone must comply to the obligations under the Anti-Money Laundering Act and the respective regulations and guidelines. So I'll go very fast since we are almost out of time. Let me proceed just to red flag indicators. So if you see there is discrepancies between information submitted by the customer and information detected by monitoring system, that is a red flag that you need to flag. And if your individual holds an unusual volume of accounts with the same provider, in Tanzania, actually, we're even limited to have MNOs. Like, we cannot have, say, you have 3 telephone numbers from the same, what are they called? From the same cellular network. That's not allowed. That is already a suspicion. Why do you need to have three accounts? So that is a red flag. And you have a large and diverse source of funds, like bank transfers, credit cards, cash funding. In Tanzania, the limit is, like I said, $10,000 in a day. That is, if you get more than that, a person deposits more than that, then you flag that. And then you have multiple reference banks account from banks located in various cities used to find the same account. You have numerous cash loading just under the reporting threshold. So you see, if it's $10,000, you have a person like depositing $5,000 and then depositing $2,000 the same day. They're depositing other $3,000, and then the totality of it is $10,000 or more. That is already suspicious. So it's like it's broken down to different transactions that is suspicious and should be flagged as such. And then we have multiple third parties funding one account. You have one account that different people from different countries they all transfer funds to. That is suspicious. And then you have multiple, we have multiple loading or funding of the same accounts, followed by the ATM withdrawals shortly after or over a short period of time. That also is a red flag indicator. And then we have several ones. We have, like I said, the NPM accounts used only for withdrawals, back and forth movement of funds between banks and accounts held by different prepaid cards companies located in different countries. You flag all of those as a suspicious transaction. So, as I said before, money laundering, terrorist financing, proliferation financing are serious transnational organized crimes, and they have serious repercussions. And so the efforts are required close cooperation and coordination among stakeholders in order for us to succeed. Thank you so much for your time, for listening. I think I'll come back to Samora if we have any questions. I'll be sharing definitely the risk assessment forms, the policies, the standard policies that we can have. If you have any questions, please welcome. Thank you so much.
Noted. Thank you for that, Grace, for guiding us and teaching us about compliance awareness and anti-money laundering. Most of people tend to ignore this stuff a lot, but thank you for that. So if you have any questions or excuse me, just a minute. If you have any questions, and I would like to guide you to Wakandi Academy. Need any assistance, you can just reach out through the support number or WhatsApp. You can also add in the live chat through the system. If you have any question, you can just add there and we're able to reach out to you. But if you want to learn anything about the system or Wakandi, please go to Wakandi Academy. If you go there, you will get all the resources and everything. You can learn anything that you don't know and you want to learn. Everything is provided for you there. So since there's no any question in the chat, I think we'll end there for today. Thank you for attending our webinar. Thank you so much. And hopefully we will be joining us again at the next webinar. Thank you for that.